Hello and welcome to the Trending Now podcast for this Friday, January 19th, 2024. I'm your host, Louie Butko, and thanks for joining us, however you found us, as we recap some of the biggest stories in the week that was on Trending Now, which you catch every Monday to Friday on CHCH. Coming up on today's show. Less than 300 days until Americans head to the polls to vote for president, former President Donald Trump was trending all week as he jumped from the stage to the courthouse amid his ongoing legal troubles. The host of Trending Now, Nicole Martin, has been following Trump's tribulations this week and joins us off the top with the latest. An end of an era for the Toronto Raptors as Pascal Siakam, one of the last pieces remaining from the 2019 NBA championship team, is traded to Indiana ahead of becoming an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Manesa Dhanabalan was on the sports beat a couple of days this week and joins us with that and more coming up a little later on. And it was TV's biggest night, but despite some of the lowest ratings ever for the celebration of all things television, were Monday night's Emmy Awards, one for the books. Our in-house entertainment expert and Trending Now producer Laura Sebben stops by with her thoughts coming up. But we start with something we probably don't want to be talking about.
You said 300 days?
291 days until November 5th, which is when Americans go back to the polls.
Yes, yeah, and it's every day this week. Trump is just all over X, all over Google Trends. People are wondering what he's up to, what he's saying.
Yeah.
What court cases are going on.
He's never gone away.
No.
He's never gone away. Most presidents, like Barack Obama, yes, he had 2 terms. He can't run again. He just kind of quietly went away, like almost
just doing nice things. He's just doing documentaries with Netflix, you know.
But like maybe almost too quietly went away because didn't put up a stink when, rightfully so, when Trump won. But he won Iowa. He won the Iowa caucus by a considerable margin. And of course, as we know, makes him the clear frontrunner for the 2024 presidential nomination. Iowa, not a surprise to anyone who's been paying attention.
We got like the rural country out there. Everyone loves Trump. Interesting, though, that I want to mention is that the lowest voter turnout for these Iowa caucuses, though, they only had 111,000 people turn out, but that's less than 15% of the registered Republicans that could go out and decide who they want to be the Republican presidential candidate. So, I mean, yes, he was 30 points ahead of Ron DeSantis. Huge margins there. Definitely the clear winner. But not that many people actually went out to vote. Yeah, and
people were talking about the weather. It was frigidly cold in Iowa. Lots of snow, record wind chills. But the thing that I got was that a lot of people thought 50%, you're supposed to be the guy. You're the front runner. You're basically running as what you think is an incumbent president. Nobody else has taken the helm of that party to only get 50%. Some people are looking at that as that's a worrying sign for a general election.
It is specifically in Iowa. So New Hampshire caucuses are coming up next. So that's happening in 4 days from now, next week. And in that situation, so the people who are also running, Nikki Haley, for example, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So Nikki Haley's actually polling quite well in New Hampshire. So we'll see what happens there for Trump.
DeSantis basically skipping New Hampshire. He's not polling very well there. He's going straight to South Carolina, which kind of goes to Nikki Haley's point on Monday night. Says, I see this as a 2-person race.
Yes.
Nikki, you finished 3rd, first of all. Maybe not the right line. You finished 3rd place. Maybe it's not a 2-person race.
She was already looking ahead to New Hampshire, though. And if she's seeing herself beating Trump in New Hampshire, she's like, okay, maybe I have a chance.
Vivek dropped out, Ramaswamy, as well as Asa Hutchinson. White House got in a little bit of trouble for a little snarky comment that the DNC put out saying, we thought Asa Hutchinson had already dropped out.
They apologized today. I was just seeing that before I came in here. So they had to backtrack that.
Could you imagine the Trump presidency ever apologizing for anything, let alone a snarky remark about a candidate from another party?
You made a great point with that one. I can't imagine.
It doesn't make any sense. That's not the only reason Trump was trending this week.
No, you mentioned it right off the top. He's flying all over the place. Even just watching yesterday, I was trying to see, okay, where is he right now? He was going from New Hampshire, he flew down, back to court in New York, back to New Hampshire, down to Florida for his mother-in-law's funeral. I mean, he's everywhere. But predominantly, he has said he is not missing his court case, and this is the defamation case.
So this is E. Jean Carroll. Okay, so give us a little bit of background on this case.
Okay, so E. Jean Carroll, this ahead of a book release, I think this was in 2019 now, she came out with these allegations that Trump raped her in a department store in the mid-90s. And he immediately said, no, he said terrible things. I wrote some of them down about her. He called her, quote, a whack job. He said, quote, she's not my type. That was in a deposition under oath as well. He said that. But
while as president of the United States.
Yes, while as president of the United States. But when she took him to court for defamation on that, and she wanted, it was a civil jury, not a criminal jury. So I'll mention that. But the civil jury found that Trump did rape her in the mid-90s and defamed her in 2022. So this case that's currently happening in New York in Manhattan is to try and determine how much he will have to pay E. Jean Carroll. And she's asking for about $10 million in damages here, just for disparaging her, for ruining her reputation, and to try and build it back up again.
And E. Jean Carroll, she had, a very prolific writer,
yes,
columnist. Like, she was a well-known name in these New York circles, which I realized Alina Habba was going after her, saying, well, who did you go to once this story happened? She's gotten into some trouble. Her and the Louis Kaplan, the judge there, are not getting along at the start of this trial.
Judge Kaplan's not getting along with Trump's legal team or Trump as well. I mean, it was pretty crazy to see the judge threatening to throw out a former president from a courtroom because of his constant talking loud enough for the jury to hear. He's essentially saying, I don't know this woman. I don't know what she's talking about. It's all lies. That's what he's on trial for right now. He's doing it in the courtroom in front of the jury and the judge. And Alina Habba, we had one commentator on our show last night talking about she doesn't know how to enter evidence. Something as simple as that. A lawyer representing a former president of the United States should probably know how to do that.
Yeah, she basically picked up a piece of paper and started reading from it.
Yeah.
And that's not how you submit things into the record.
Absolutely not.
Both parties need to be able to see it. If you have evidence, the other side needs to be able to see it beforehand. And again, I know that from watching Law and Order and other shows.
I know from reporting some court cases. I didn't go to law school.
Yeah.
I didn't go to law school. I'm not representing a former president here, but yeah, we know that.
The one thing that Trump scared me on Thursday morning, so this is 2 a.m. Wednesday night, Trump took to Truth Social to say that a U.S. president must have complete and total presidential immunity. This is what he wrote, quote, a president of the United States must have full immunity, without which it would be impossible for him or her to properly function. Any mistake, even if well-intended, would be met with almost certain indictment by the opposing party at term end. Even events that cross the line must fall under total immunity, or it will be years of trauma trying to determine good from bad. Sometimes you just have to live with great but slightly imperfect. All presidents must have complete and total presidential immunity, or the authority and decisiveness of a president of the United States will be stripped and gone forever. Hopefully, this will be an easy decision. God bless the Supreme Court. I read that because I haven't seen it enough. In the fact that here he is.
You haven't seen it enough. I've heard it more than enough.
I know I've
saying it all week.
But to again, like a show like this, it's a little rinky-dinky podcast. I know what we do here. I know what I do. I'm not thinking it's too much. But just to read that into the record of the news of what we're doing, I am shocked that a president is calling for total immunity, because there have been 44 presidents before this guy who have not been asking for total immunity. This guy is indicted 91 times and is not asking for it, is stating it as fact that a president must have immunity.
But he's very quick to bring up some other presidents, though, saying this would apply to them too. Clinton, for example. We talked about Epstein on the first podcast with me here. So he's saying that it wouldn't just be for him; it would be for past and future presidents as well. But still, you're saying this because he has 91 criminal charges he's facing against 4 different counts. Of course he wants immunity.
We've heard this argument very strongly. He was on, he put this out again. He put this out at 2 in the morning, 2 a.m. on Thursday morning. And then yesterday he was on Fox News, Sean Hannity, and he basically said, what's your message to voters? The final message, softball, here you go. I'm going to put this question on a tee for you. President Trump, what's your message to voters? He's like, well, you got to get out and vote. And the Supreme Court's got to realize that total immunity for all presidents. I'm really excited for the next 291 days.
He's 77 years old. Okay, you take it in. If he was actually on Truth Social and he posted that himself, which I feel like he probably did.
2 in the morning? Who else is getting the okay from him?
And then he's up at, 6, 7 a.m. to then go on Fox? And that.
Yeah. He's, I
don't have that kind of energy, but I think you do in order to think this way. I don't know.
He's writing this because a 3-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals is expected soon to issue a ruling in a case brought by Trump in his effort to dismiss the federal election. He wants those charges just dismissed completely. And his argument is, I need full immunity. We talked about the Navy SEAL Team 6 last week that he had one lawyer go up before the appeals court and says, yeah, if he wasn't impeached, you can't do anything about it. He needs to be impeached if that's what you're going to go. 291 days, Nicole. You ready?
Yes. Reluctantly, yes.
Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks so much.
All right. My thanks to Nicole Martin for joining us today. Still ahead, we'll be joined by Manesa Dhanabalan. We'll get her thoughts on everything that's been happening this week. She has been in the sports beat this week, but she also covered this story where there were tensions in the Mideast were growing after an Iranian attack in Pakistan. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, 3 people are dead, 77 injured after an overnight explosion in one of the country's largest cities. Now, preliminary investigations show the blast was caused by explosives stored in illegal mining operations. Unverified video appeared to show the aftermath of the attack that angered Pakistan after Iran fired missiles into its territory to attack an outlawed separatist group in a remote area of Baluchistan province. Now, Pakistan recalled its ambassador to Iran on Wednesday in protest of the unprecedented airstrike, and there's been a lot going on. It's not just that. Nigeria, rescue workers were digging through rubble to rescue anyone who could have been trapped after explosives stored at a private residence detonated and rocked more than 20 buildings. It's a scary time in the world for sure. And these tensions in the Middle East, I'm not even sure if we're going to get to the Houthis on this show, on the podcast, but it's definitely been making headlines elsewhere. Manesa Dhanabalan was on this story. But we're going to bring her on for a little bit of a different story. This is one she had. Pascal Siakam. He's gone. He's gone. Yeah, the president of the Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri, got emotional today as he talked about Pascal Siakam, that being yesterday. Masai Ujiri was really worked up. This was a deep cut for him.
Yeah, it was really sad. It was really sad
for you
to watch
watching
him.
it as not a huge Raptors fan. You're familiar. You're a great journalist. You read up on the story. You knew what you were doing. But to watch the emotion of this man talking about a player that was traded, which happens all the time. What was that like for you?
It made me sad. Especially when they asked him what's something that stands out to you. That you'll always remember about Siakam or something like that. And he just kind of was like, 2 things. And he got so choked up and I felt so bad. I felt so sad. I was like, oh.
He said there were 2 African guys winning a championship at the same time. He did a lot of work. Of course, we know Masai Ujiri does a lot of charity work. Giants of basketball, bringing the sport to Africa. And Pascal Siakam was a big part of that. And it's the end of an era for the Raptors. You were talking to one of your guests who really put it into perspective.
I'm actually forgetting the name of the person that I actually right now. I'm sorry.
A go-to. It's all good. Basketball reporter. I'm not here to quiz you, but it's the end of an era.
It really is an end of an era because it's not just it wasn't just the Raptors. He was such a big part of Toronto, the community, and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, a big thing for a lot of people concerned was the Siakam swirl McFlurry. So, but which is staying for a little bit, but he was really immersed. So to kind of see him go, but it seems like everyone has this bittersweet feeling where as much as they are really sad that he's leaving, there's so much love for him that they want to see him succeed at the end of the day. So that was something that I kind of saw happening, is that it wasn't just like, oh wow, you left, like we hate you now. Like it wasn't like that.
You know, it's a big deal. Like when Trudeau, like the prime minister, is tweeting about you leaving, right? Spicy P, using your nickname. Olivia Chow tweeted about it too. Siakam signed with the Raptors in 2016, and until now, had spent his entire NBA career with the Raptors. It's that's a long time.
Yeah.
He won an NBA championship. There's only one guy who was on that team, that being Chris Boucher from that 2019 team. I will admit, I watched the Raptors the last 2 nights. I barely recognized anybody on the team. Like, from the head coach to the players, like, I needed a program to figure out who everybody was. Like,
okay,
it's pretty nuts.
Like, I remember going a couple years back to a Raptors, like, game a while back. I was going with a friend. And, like, you know, like, I remember the first player that I, like, saw and recognized was Fred VanVleet.
Nice.
And the fact that he's not there anymore, it just feels so, like, I know he left a while back and whatever, but, like, exactly what you're saying, where it's like you look at them and you're like, do I know any of them? Or, like, you know what I mean? Well, I don't follow sports, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, well, you've done a great job this week, because you were also on the Travis Kelce. Is he going to retire? It's Jason Kelce. Sorry. Yeah, I got Sunday on my brain. Wow. Manesa Dhanabalan just corrected me on a sports thing. I don't know if I can do this anymore. I think I'm done. Manesa Dhanabalan just corrected me.
I can't believe you actually let me do that.
Thing.
Yeah.
No, don't worry. I'm going to fix this in editing. I edit it, so I'm going to make sure that this doesn't make it there. So let's pick it up from here. So you also were doing, you also had this story on Jason Kelce's retirement, possible retirement. It sounded like he's going to call it a career.
Yeah, like, and it's sad because, like, again, we're talking about another person who is pretty involved in the community and stuff like that. So it was really, especially in the past year when, like, you know, when the Chiefs were the last Super Bowl was the last one, right?
Yeah,
the last Super Bowl when
Chiefs and Eagles.
Yeah, like the two brothers were up against each other, you know, like all those kinds of things. Like, there was a lot that I guess kind of.
It all added up.
Yeah,
it was the perfect storm. No, it was really the perfect storm of these Kelce brothers.
Yeah.
Who, like, let's get one thing straight. Like, Jason Kelce has always wanted, Travis Kelce has always wanted to be famous. Like, Travis Kelce was on a dating show in, like, 2015. Like, this isn't anything new. This isn't a real surprise to anybody. But the timing of all of this is like, oh, now he's dating Taylor Swift, who's the biggest star in the world. And the Chiefs are good, and he's a defending champion. Like, I think Jason Kelce is kind of a beneficiary, obviously, of his brother's celebrity, but a great athlete in his own right, and really beloved in Philly, which is a hard thing to do. Philly is a tough sports town.
I mean, yeah, especially, like, after he won that first Super Bowl and then he had his, like, speech.
Yeah.
That one speech, I guess it's
at
like.
At the parade? Yeah. That was.
Yeah, because he kind of, like, he kind of, as much as, yes, he's Travis Kelce's brother and stuff like that, he kind of has his own thing going on, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he's loved for his own reasons.
Yeah. No, for sure. You're working on the World Economic Forum, kind of a wrap-up, busy week. The Argentina president getting a lot of headlines this week.
Yeah, and kind of wrapping. I mean, like, today, like, Trump and artificial.
What is the World Economic Forum? Like, we hear about this, like, conspiracy theories, like, this is where all the decisions are made.
That's what my Twitter was full of today.
I figure everybody, this is where all the world decisions, this is where they invented COVID, was at the World Economic Forum. This is where Bill Gates and George Soros are pulling the strings of big government. That's really not what's happening at the World Economic Forum, is it?
Well, it's like, okay, so no.
Oh, you were saying well, and I was like, oh, where are you going?
No, sorry.
I might actually have to edit it now.
No, not at all. So it's just leaders, right? It's not just political leaders or anything, but it's also, like, in the tech industry, a lot of different kinds of, like, organizations, nonprofit organizations too, I believe. They all kind of come together and they all kind of discuss these topics, like AI, and one topic was Trump getting reelected.
A whole topic on that. Yeah.
Well, it came up. Is basically what it is. So, like, that, you know, the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, and, like, just kind of talking about those kinds of things and just, like, the greater, like, repercussions, I guess.
Yeah. What was you got an expert today on the subject. What did they make of this week's events?
Well, yeah. So she was basically talking about like a wrap up on like what everybody was talking about as well, right? And just how what she was saying, because I was like, what is really going to come out at the end of the day? Like, what are we going to see? And she was like, the huge thing is that these leaders are coming here and they're discussing this. They're all getting to find out like each other's opinions, and when you kind of decide on something, you could go back and talk and socialize and hopefully make policies of it. So we're just going to have to wait and see.
It's sort of a summit. It is a summit. That's what they call it.
Yes.
But it's not that G7. There aren't the protocols. It's more relaxed, and it's in Switzerland, and it's very nice.
Yeah, that's what I was getting out of it too.
Yeah, it's a lot of rich people in one place. They're all taking, because I know a lot of people are like, like all these people are complaining about the climate, but they're all taking their private jets to Davos, Switzerland, and it's like
climate change too.
They did talk about climate change. You got big plans for the weekend, Manesa Dhanabalan?
Cleaning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cleaning and cooking. That's it.
Cleaning and cooking. That sounds like a fun weekend.
How about you?
Oh, you asked today. You never ask.
I always ask,
You never ask. So I've been doing Dry January. I didn't do it well on Monday.
I'm sorry. Wait, you were doing what?
I was doing Dry January, where I wasn't drinking during the month of January. And I was doing great. And then the Bills played on Monday night, and I was home, and I made nachos, and I was like, well, I'm going to have one. And then I had a couple more. So I'm back on track, but the Bills play again on Sunday night, so I can't make any promises, and I'm off on Monday, so I'm very excited about that.
Oh, see, now there you go. Saturday, I think the Packers are playing or something.
Yeah.
Yes. So Alex is a Packers fan, so I'm going to I'm going to be drinking so I can drain out all the conversations.
Yeah, there you go. So. All right, you're working hard on your World Economic Forum story, so thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, my thanks to Manesa Dhanabalan for joining me. Still ahead, Laura Sebben will be by, but I do want to get to a couple more stories here, including this one, which happened right down the road in Toronto, where UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland seemed like he was just waiting for the right moment to go on a rant about Canada in this week's pre-fight press conference. Strickland, wearing one of his signature "A Woman in Every Kitchen, a Gun in Every Hands" t-shirt, ranted when asked about Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and mentioned the seizure of Freedom Convoy organizers' bank accounts after the group descended on Parliament Hill in February of 2022. Now, the reporter, which is Neil Davidson of the Canadian Press, which is what triggered him. He heard Canadian Press and might have confused it with CBC. This man, I'm not sure what his intelligence is. He is a former neo-Nazi. He's said that before. Now, the reporter had been trying to ask Strickland about a question about previous comments he made regarding the LGBTQ community, but he cut the reporter off to go on another tirade. We're not going to play any of his tirade here. We had it on the show the other day. Laura Sebben is here with us, and I want to talk about the Emmys, of course, but I do want to get your thoughts on this, because the thing that bothered me is ESPN, UFC, Disney, even Sportsnet. You watch that back, Sportsnet's logo is prominently featured. Yep. This guy's wearing a shirt that says "A Woman in Every Kitchen,
a gun in every hand."
Scotiabank Arena. Like, this is happening in Toronto. This is the main event. This is how it's being advertised.
Yep.
No comment. We have no comment on it. Dana White's not going to say anything, but you would think ESPN, Disney, Sportsnet, Rogers would have something to say.
Well, yeah, especially considering everything that happened with Disney and the state of Florida last year. Disney basically being like, we're not going to work with the government of Florida if they're going to enact these anti-LGBTQ laws. And then they go and let somebody speak like this with absolutely no repercussions. And I just can't imagine, in the current climate and all the work that's been done by businesses to, make it so that stuff like this doesn't keep happening. Like you said, you have Scotiabank Arena, Sportsnet, ESPN, like plastered all over this, like Skilled Trades College. Like, these people are just trying to sponsor the event, and like their thing's right behind his head while he's just saying these utterly horrible things. And it's like homophobic, transphobic. Then he was like, let me just hate on women too. Like, the Canada stuff aside, like, you can have your opinion about governments around the world, and that is like different from hate speech, which is what he did there. And then for him to, I don't know if you watched the whole press conference. I unfortunately had to.
I heard Neil Davidson's question. I heard the first 5 seconds of his answer and turned it off, and then followed up later and heard things that were said.
I had to unfortunately watch it because that was my story that I was covering yesterday. And after he like just spews all this hateful stuff, he like looks over at his friggin' PR handler in the corner and he's like, "That was okay, right? Like I didn't say anything too bad, did I? Like, what do you mean?"
It's worth pointing out, maybe there's a reason Sportsnet hasn't said anything. This is actually Sportsnet's first main event since they have acquired the rights, or the first pay-per-view rights, was on TSN for years and years and years. This is the first pay-per-view that Sportsnet is doing. Like I said, we've seen their logo. We see Scotiabank. He also came out the next day with a "Make Canada Great Again" shirt.
Yeah, double down
in the fan
on his
press
comments.
conference. All right,
I think just quickly, I
don't want to spend any more breath on this.
Where's my camera? Is this my camera?
Right there. Go for it.
To the people who reply to our CHCH tweets, grow up. The amount of tweets that I saw of people being like, "He's not wrong," go away. Bye. Check yourself, learn some stuff, get educated, and get out of our comments. Thanks.
There you go. All right, we'll give you that. All right, let's change gears. Succession secured its legacy at the 75th Annual Emmy Awards. The HBO saga following dysfunctional generations of a maladjusted media empire, won the top prize for its fourth. Good job, whoever wrote my script, for its fourth and final season. This had to have swept all the awards. It was just a matter of who was going to get it. I don't think they went wrong, actually, with the winners.
No, I don't think so.
And no spoiler alerts. Kind of a pretty good tell of the way the show ends.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
Right? Like, even this picture here, it's almost like
it's so cute. I just think this show was good from the jump, and it just kept getting better season after season.
Just so hard to find.
It's true. Like, you have ebbs and flows when it comes to shows, or sometimes you find shows that struggle to keep their footing at the end. They have a hard time wrapping things up, and I just thought they did such a good job while still, keeping people surprised. And I just really loved the show. I thought it was very well done TV.
Have you watched it again since it first aired?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Beginning to end?
Yep.
Really? That's impressive. I've wanted to see it.
Oh, it's not very long. Like, only 4 seasons, 10 episodes per season.
That last season was so good, though.
Oh.
So good.
Which, as much as I love that Kieran Culkin got his flowers, I just, Jeremy Strong in that last season. He was so good.
The Culkins having a moment these days, right?
I love it. 90s
Macaulay
Renaissance.
had his, what else is new? On the comedy side, it was The Bears Night, along with winning Best Comedy. The FX Dramedy also dominated the comedy acting categories. Jeremy Allen White winning Best Actor. Ibn Mas Bakrik taking Best Supporting Actor, and Io A. Debary winning Best Supporting Actress. That's a clean sweep there, almost.
It is.
Not a Schitt's Creek clean sweep, but pretty close.
I haven't. Well, because I don't think they had a Best Supporting Actress nominee present, but I have not watched The Bear. I want to. It's
always right there, though. So you log into Disney Plus, and it's like, do I want to watch Modern Family, which I've seen before, or do I want? And it's like, I'm going with the comfort. I'm going with the easy. I'm doing dishes. I'm going to put Modern Family on in the background.
Yeah, my sister, she's watched The Bear. She really liked it, and I just really love Io Debary. I think she's so funny. Love her. So even though I haven't seen her in the show, I'm not surprised she's getting some praise.
Some great pictures out of that. There was one with her and her parents, and they were kind of looking at their trophy. That one was pretty cool. And let's give some flowers to Fort Erie's very own Maddie Matheson.
Yes, I know that's so true.
Matt Ingram did a great story. Abbott Elementary. Have you watched that show?
Yes, I think it's so funny.
I love it. Funny. Yeah.
I also I don't know if you knew who Quinta Brunson was before. So I used to watch her videos that she would put together for BuzzFeed back in the day. Yeah. She had this one video I'll never forget. Remember when the Millie Rock was big?
Maybe. Millie Rock.
Yeah, in New York, I'm Millie Rock.
Oh, yeah. She made I actually just wanted to hear you rap it, but yeah, go ahead.
She made this video where she's just got a green screen behind her of all these like the pyramids of Giza and all this stuff, and she's just like Millie Rock. Like I've just been seeing her on the internet since I was in high school, so I love that she's finally getting to do, as she said in her speech, like what she's always loved to do for so long.
She's the executive producer. She created this show.
She writes on
it's a very Office feel, and that's what I found. Like it's very genuine. I like that. It's not like mean or anything. It doesn't put anyone down. Like I like shows like the Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso didn't get the love I wanted
but
it to.
they did for their first 2 seasons.
They did for their first 2 seasons. I know Dwayne Worth, one of our camera guys, probably a little upset he didn't. But they didn't take on more.
To your point about The Office, I feel like Abbott Elementary is like the perfect combination of The Office and Modern Family.
Yeah.
Like it just great show.
Lots of great reunions. You had some issues with the Grey's. Somebody I was talking to had some issues with the Grey's Anatomy one. Just the cast that was selected, who was there, who wasn't there.
Well, it's a possibility. They asked people and they said no.
Katherine Heigl was there.
Mom, I love that. My mom was like, "Do you think?" She just calls them by their character names. Like, do you think Meredith will be there? I'm like, duh, that woman misses no chance to be
Is she still on the show?
Grey's Anatomy. No, she's not, but
she's not on at all.
She doesn't shut up about it.
But the show is still on.
Yes.
See, that's why, like, why even do it? Like, it doesn't make sense to do it for this show.
It doesn't.
It's still going on. Like, why, like, Ally McBeal was one, Sopranos, Cheers one was good. The ratings weren't great for this, though.
For the Cheers one, I was a bit bummed they didn't, like, say anything about Kirstie Alley.
R.I.P.?
Yeah,
she
like,
really
I
turned
don't know.
into a piece of work by the end, though. She was very...
Yeah, but she's still part of the show.
I guess. What are you working on today?
That's bad that I couldn't answer that right off the cuff. The Houthi stuff.
Oh, yeah,
the Red Sea and the U.S. attack.
More attacks today.
Yeah, the U.S. attacked the 6th strike.
We heard from John Kirby just a few minutes ago talking about it, and we'll see it at 7 o'clock.
Yes, we will.
All right, awesome. Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Louie.
All right, before we go, I did want to get to this one story, and that is that the publisher of Sports Illustrated has notified employees it's planning to lay off a significant portion, possibly all, of the outlet's staff after its license to use the iconic brand's name in print and digital was revoked. Now, in an email to employees on this morning, the Arena Group, which operates Sports Illustrated and related properties, said that Authentic Brands Group has revoked its marketing license. As a result of this license revocation, we will be laying off staff that work on the SI brand. The Sports Illustrated Employees Union said in a statement that the layoffs would be a significant number and possibly all of the News Guild workers represented. Now, the iconic sports brand has had a rough 6 years. It was acquired by Meredith Publishing in 2018 as part of the purchase of Time Inc., which started the magazine way back in 1954. Less than a year later, Meredith sold the magazine's intellectual property to Authentic Brands Group for $110 million. ABG owns the intellectual property of many brands and stars, including Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Muhammad Ali, and Reebok. So basically, this brand owns the rights to Sports Illustrated, and the publisher is saying that they're not allowed to use it. So this story, obviously huge in the world of sports, huge in the world of print media. But yeah, once a weekly publication, SI was reduced to bi-weekly publishing in 2018, became monthly in 2020. So sad news there. I loved getting my Sports Illustrated every week as a kid, and obviously some tough news there and a sign of the tough times for the industry. All right, that'll do it for us today. That'll do it for us today here on Trending Now, the podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe to CHCH Podcast so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other great shows for you. And make sure to subscribe to all our Trending Now social media channels. That includes on X, YouTube, and TikTok. You can find us Trending Now CHCH. You can also subscribe to us on Snapchat. Just search CHCH Trending Now. As well, you can always follow the CHCH podcast page. There it is at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. You can go to chch.com/podcast as well. That'll do it for us today. Thank you so much. Thank you to Chantel Grillo for directing today's episode. And one more time, thank you for watching. From all of us here on CHCH, I'm Louie Butko. Have a great day.